Everybody loves a good movie theory, and literally thousands of them have been conceived over the years. Could Thanos be an evolved version of Red Skull in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Did Patrick Bateman imagine the murderous events of American Psycho? And is Emily actually Andy's mother in the Toy Story movies? Those are just a few examples thought up by movie buffs, and Star Wars fans are no different. In fact, there are probably more theories about Star Wars than there are about any other movie franchise in existence. Such is the level of enthusiasm from the Star Wars fanbase.
Its power to create problems has certainly been confirmed.
In this video, we'll run you through just a few of those theories to have been thought up in recent years. By the way, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join the notification squad to make sure that you're always up to date with our great new videos. And before we start, can you guess the movie from these emojis? Stay tuned for the answer at the end of our video, and be sure to keep watching for fun trivia questions and fun facts along the way.
And these last points, too accurate for sand people. Only Imperial Stormtroopers are so precise.
Why Stormtroopers have bad aim. One of the most well-known traits of Star Wars Stormtroopers is their terrible aim. Seriously, they might as well be firing jelly from their blasters. They don't hit a single main protagonist in the whole saga. Those guys couldn't hit a barn door from 5 yards away, could they? This particular theory suggests that Stormtroopers might not actually be as useless as popular culture has made them out to be. Why? Well, because the Force is actually responsible for their poor aim. In 2016's Rogue One, the blind Chirrut Imwe walks through a barrage of Stormtrooper blasts without getting hit.
I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
While his buddy, Baze Malbus, gets hit almost instantly. The thing is, Imwe is chanting about the Force the whole time. The fact that he is Force sensitive protects him against the blasts. It would explain why the likes of Luke, Leia, Obi-Wan, and those near to them avoid getting hit in all of their appearances. By the way, would you like to know a really fun fact about Stormtroopers? Well, stick around until the end and we'll give you one.
Well then, the droid does belong to you.
Don't seem to remember ever owning a droid.
Obi-Wan did recognize the droids. Having watched the prequel trilogy, in which Obi-Wan Kenobi becomes very familiar with both C-3PO and R2-D2, it was later highlighted as something of a plot hole in 1977's A New Hope, when the veteran Jedi appeared to not recognize the two droids.
Hello there.
However, this particular theory suggests that he actually did.
Very interesting.
When Luke suggests that R2 belongs with him, Obi-Wan responds by saying, "I don't seem to remember owning a droid." But that is technically true, and doesn't actually suggest that he doesn't know who R2 is. Moreover, Obi-Wan fairly nonchalantly mentions that R2-D2 should be able to interpret the entire Imperial network, which is an incredibly bold thing to assume if he doesn't know what R2 is truly capable of. It actually makes far more sense to assume that he knows exactly what R2 is capable of, and did in fact recognize him, which removes the annoying plot hole that so many people claimed was gaping. Are you convinced? Let us know. Kylo Ren lives in Darth Vader's lava castle. 2016's Rogue One had some pretty sweet reveals in it. Arguably the coolest of all those reveals was the fact that Darth Vader was living in an awesome-looking castle on Mustafar, the planet where he lost his legs and became terribly scarred from a duel with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Seriously, the place wouldn't have looked out of place in Mordor. Obviously, this showcased how terrifying and badass Vader is, but one theory suggests that it points towards something else happening going forward. Could it be where Kylo Ren headed after the events of 2015's The Force Awakens? It's no secret that Ren is absolutely obsessed with his grandfather's legacy, so it certainly makes sense that he would like to inhabit the spectacular castle that he once lived in. The castle style also suits Ren's look and aura to a T, which makes the theory make even more sense. Is Vader's awesome lava castle somewhere you'd like to see the evil Kylo Ren inhabiting going forward in the Star Wars franchise? Make sure you tell us your thoughts about the prospect.
You will remove these restraints and leave this cell with the door open.
I will remove these restraints and leave the cell with the door open.
Rey is a Kenobi. Okay, now we're coming to a trio of theories about the identity and heritage of Daisy Ridley's Rey in the Star Wars franchise, the first of which involves a certain Jedi, and it's not the one you might think. The common conclusion to come to regarding Rey is that she's related to Luke Skywalker in some way, but this theory suggests she may actually be related to Obi-Wan Kenobi. More specifically, she's his granddaughter. The reason for that theory? Well, like Rey, Obi-Wan was once a rebellious young Jedi. It was Obi-Wan's voice Rey heard calling out her name during her vision induced by a lightsaber.
Rey?
Apart from C-3PO, only Obi-Wan and Rey have British accents in the franchise. Seriously, even other British actors in the franchise speak with American accents. She uses a Jedi mind trick, which is Obi-Wan's trademark ability.
Move along.
Move along. Move along.
Her costume is similar to Obi-Wan's in the prequel trilogy, and, well, we could go on, but you get the point here. The bigger question, however, is this. Who did Obi-Wan get it on with in order to extend his bloodline? There seems to be only like 5 or 6 women in the entire galaxy. So, could Rey be a Kenobi? Are you more convinced by one of the next two theories?
You know how to use one of those?
Yeah, you pull the trigger.
A little bit more to it than that.
Rey is a Solo. Alternatively, could Rey actually be a Solo? There's a lot less evidence pointing toward that being the case than there is for the previous theory, but the evidence that does exist for this theory is fairly compelling. Those who have speculated that she could be the daughter of Han Solo and Leia Organa believe so because that would make her Kylo Ren's sister, and Ren totally freaked out when he heard a mention of a girl.
What girl?
Did he know his sister was nearby? Also, Rey bonds extremely quickly with Han Solo upon meeting him. It's almost as if the bond is so natural that it's a father-daughter bond. Moreover, Rey shows a real aptitude for piloting the Millennium Falcon, which could be due to the fact that there's a genetic component involved in such a skill. This theory does make you wonder why Han and Leia would have abandoned Rey on a desert planet all those years ago, but maybe she was just an incredibly irritating little kid. Do you think there's any chance at all that this theory could be true? Give us your thoughts. Still, there's one more Rey theory to get through yet, so hold that thought for now.
We'll find that it is you who are mistaken about a great many things.
Rey is a Palpatine. The final theory regarding Rey's heritage is a bit more out there, and it's one that, in spite of how much they want to know, fans might not like it if it turns out to be true. Could Rey actually be a Palpatine? That's right, there's actually a theory that suggests Rey could be a Sith descendant, and have a gene that will go on to make her incredibly wrinkly and gross.
The Emperor does not share your optimistic appraisal of the situation.
An extremely well-researched and compelling case for Rey's villainous ancestry has been made. Sith don't adhere to the same moral code as Jedis, which means that there's every chance Emperor Palpatine could have sowed his seed across all corners of the galaxy. A number of Rey's lightsaber techniques are very reminiscent of the way Palpatine wields his lightsaber, and the musical score associated with her character isn't too dissimilar to his. Nobody wants to imagine the evil Emperor doing the deed, but sadly, this theory forces us to do exactly that. Could this crazy theory actually be true, or are those behind it just being silly? By withholding her backstory, Disney has done a great job building up hype around Rey and her role in the unfolding Star Wars saga, to say nothing of the films themselves. Fact is, with little to go on but a few cryptic references, fans are left to speculate on how Rey fits into the larger story. Fan speculation is what drives the series, and Disney has hit upon a terrific marketing tool to keep us all on the hook for the next installment. We suspect they'll do the same for the 9th episode due out in 2019, so don't expect to get all the answers with the release of The Last Jedi later this year. We're eager to know more about Rey, Finn, and the rest of the characters, aren't you? Post your opinion in the comment section below. We're really interested to hear your thoughts on this. Vader isn't 100% evil until after A New Hope. From the moment the first Star Wars movie was released back in 1977, Darth Vader has been thought of as the out-and-out villain of the franchise. The prequel trilogies then showed how he became evil, having previously been a promising Jedi, but he was considered completely bad, dark, and nefarious from A New Hope onwards. But is that actually the case? This theory suggests Vader wasn't fully evil until after the first installment of the Star Wars franchise, and when you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. In A New Hope, Vader is a lot more pleasant than when he cuts his son's hand off in Empire Strikes Back. Apart from one forced choke incident, he's generally quite polite to his Death Star co-workers. And in Rogue One, it actually explains what made him become more evil thereafter. He let the Death Star plan slip through his fingers on 2 occasions, and was unable to prevent the rebels from destroying it. Moreover, he found out that the person responsible for its destruction was his son. Not to mention the fact that he actually found out said son was alive, and that the Emperor had been lying to him for decades prior to the events of the movie. What do you think? Was Vader actually redeemable up until then? Was he only fully evil after the events of A New Hope? Tell us your thoughts.
You ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Darth Plagueis is Snoke. Well, earlier in the video, we looked at 3 different theories about the heritage of Rey, and now it's time to look at 2 about the identity of the mysterious Supreme Leader Snoke. This first theory suggests that Snoke is actually a Sith Lord, and it'll probably be one we already know. That has led some people to believe that Snoke is actually Palpatine's mentor, Darth Plagueis. He certainly seems to be the best candidate, although some people have theorized he could even be Darth Vader or Palpatine himself, as it would certainly make a lot of sense. In the prequel trilogy, Plagueis supposedly discovered the secret to extending life and preventing death.
He could use the Force to influence the midi-chlorians to create life.
It was a technique Palpatine apparently stole when he murdered his mentor. But bearing in mind that he had discovered the key to not dying, how could he possibly have been killed at all? Maybe Plagueis lives on, continuing to preach the ways of the dark side as Supreme Leader Snoke, and their similar theme music would certainly back up this theory. Or could Snoke be a more well-known character from the Star Wars mythos? Let's move on to the next theory. Boba Fett is Snoke. So, it's on to our next theory about Supreme Leader Snoke, and this one suggests that he might actually be none other than Boba Fett. We really don't know that much about Snoke, other than the fact that he appears to be terribly disfigured. Could that disfigurement have occurred through being half digested in the stomach of a Sarlacc? The people behind this theory say yes. Snoke could actually be the thought-dead Boba Fett, returned from the depths of Jabba the Hutt's Sarlacc pit. Remember how it was Han Solo who accidentally ignited Fett's rocket pack, sending him into the Sarlacc's mouth? It would certainly explain why Snoke made such a conceited effort to corrupt Solo's son, as Boba would definitely want revenge on Han if he was still alive. Can you imagine Snoke with a rocket pack though? That would look pretty damn ridiculous. Do you think this theory is plausible? Who else do you think Snoke could be? Let us know. Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord. As if Jar Jar Binks wasn't universally hated enough already.
Misa called Jar Jar Binks. Misa, your humble servant.
That won't be necessary.
Seriously, we all despise him, right? This recent theory will potentially make you hate him even more. It suggests that the annoying Gungan is actually an accomplished Dark Force user and a secret Sith Lord. Jar Jar appeared in all 3 installments of the Star Wars prequel trilogy, albeit only extremely briefly in 2005's Revenge of the Sith, and he just didn't win fans over at all. But was he actually a Dark Force user, orchestrating events in secret? Let's look at the evidence. He does all kinds of clumsy stuff that always seems to work out, like acrobatic dives and leg sweeps. He seems to display skill in the martial arts form known as Zui Quan, or Drunken Fist, which, while uneasy on the eyes, is very effective. He seems to get lucky a lot, but Obi-Wan has suggested that luck doesn't exist in the Star Wars universe. He seems to make subtle gestures at pivotal moments, such as when he's offered a seat on the Galactic Senate and when he's promoted to Bomba General of the Gungan Grand Army.
General?
Suggesting he's performing mind tricks in order to make them happen. The theory also suggests he's in cahoots with Palpatine, as they grew up on nearby planets, which is like being next-door neighbors in the Star Wars universe, and he can be seen hanging out with the Emperor in Revenge of the Sith. Could Jar Jar's idiocy be an elaborate act, performed by an evil genius trying to deceive everyone? What do you think?
Go! I need a weapon! You have one!
Oh, and that fun fact about Stormtroopers we promised you at the start? Well, here it is. Stormtroopers were originally intended to wield lightsabers. That's right, the elegant energy blades were meant to be far more commonplace in the Star Wars universe, prior to George Lucas limiting them to Jedi and Sith. Hey, the Stormtroopers would probably have been far more successful when it came to hitting things if they had lightsabers, right? Thanks for watching our video about 10 new Star Wars theories that actually make sense. We hope you enjoyed it, and the answer to the movie emoji is... Did you get the right answer? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure you subscribe to our channel, and sign up for the notifications so you never miss an upload. If you like this video, check out our buddies over at CBR. Their videos cover the entire pop culture spectrum and are just as great as ours.